The annual Asia CEO Awards Gala. The honors are meant for the country's most outstanding business organizations and industry leaders. As the awards marks its third year, event organizers say more and more experienced business leaders in the region are recognizing the Philippines' potential for growth. With us this morning are the organizers of the Asia CEO Awards, Francis Estrada, former President and CEO of the Asian Institute of Management, and Awards Chairman Richard Reyes. Good morning, gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining us in the show. Okay, it's called the Asia CEO Awards, but you're saying this event will bring the focus to the Philippines. Why is that?
Why? Because it's the time, I would say, Ron. Philippines has been kind of a slow mover in the past, but today, now, it's a special time because I think we're at the cusp of a new beginning for Philippines. It's already here and well established, so this is meant to promote that fact to the world.
Okay, this is the third time that you're going to be holding the Asia CEO Awards. Just give us a background on how this was born.
It was born because we could see that the future was coming and meant to promote Philippines on an industry-wide basis to the entire world, because Philippines is ready now to take its place among the tigers of Asia, certainly. And recent developments have certainly, I know Francis and I were just talking about that, have certainly made that happen. So that's the purpose of it.
Mr. Estrada, do you agree that this is a time for the Philippines to shine?
Well, to begin with, I think for many of us who've observed and have felt the Philippines, the agony and the ecstasy of its development, I think that stars have very rarely been as aligned as it has been. From a fiscal point of view, from an external debt point of view, from the point of view of confidence, from a governance point of view, I think you have, we've been getting a lot of input that suggests that this is an appropriate time for us.
Plus the fact that other countries are having their own problems right now.
The other countries are having their own problems, but we're not alone, by the way, of being in reasonably good shape. Indonesia, for example, is doing reasonably well. Malaysia, the ASEAN region, I want to emphasize, is particularly looking promising. All of a sudden, for the longest time, China has really been China and India. And Brazil, to some extent, have really driven the attention. We're now looking at a time where basically ASEAN and its potential, and the Philippines and its potential, are coming to the fore.
Now that the country and the ASEAN region is getting attention from everybody, it's not really time for the bosses and the CEOs to take it lightly. This is more maybe problematic for them. They have to do a lot more. Well, what are the challenges that Asian CEOs are facing?
Well, you have a lot of challenges that are first generic, and there are challenges that are unique to the Asian CEOs. The generic challenges have to do with two contending issues. On one hand, governance standards are requiring a lot more transparency, a lot more openness and inclusiveness. Now, at the same time, you do have pressures, essentially from shareholders, from analysts, from fund managers, that really favor essentially short-term profits, as opposed to investing in the building up of essentially the business. So that's generic. And in Asia, in the region, what you do have is you have, on one hand, a very you're at the cusp of a demographic dividend payout, as it were. You have young markets. You have a lot of potential talent. The big challenge is making sure that you get your people trained properly.
That's right.
And also that you are able to fend off pressure on short-term thinking. In other words, you've got to invest in your educational infrastructure, your training, and essentially where do you get your leadership in the future.
Just going back to something you first said, you said that one of the problems is pressure for greater transparency from governments. Why is that supposed to be a problem? Isn't that what they're supposed to be doing?
It is what they are supposed to be doing, but from a selfish point of view, the manager will tell you, hey, don't get me stuck with all this bureaucracy. I gotta move fast. No, seriously, they will say, and in order to execute quickly, I can't go and consult before. That is the classic argument. But you're really saying, we were just talking about this, that the world has evolved over the last 30 years enormously. No question about essentially economic growth. The problem is the beneficiaries of that growth have been a relatively very small group of the population. As a consequence, the development model, in the past, the thinking was maximization of shareholder value. That was the paradigm.
Yes, yes.
However, given these disparities and the serious social consequences of these disparities, the argument now, the paradigm is maximization of stakeholder value, because the objective is inclusive and sustainable growth. Now, that's a huge change. It's not just your return on equity, your internal rate of return. It really has to do with how sustainable is that business. So you're going to have to look at your employees, your distributors, your suppliers, and the communities you operate in. And it's not just a one home run sort of situation. That's not what you should reward your senior executives with.
Okay, for this event, of course, you're going to be awarding top CEOs, but I want to ask you, what makes a good CEO? Why are you giving these people special awards, citations? What would make them stand out from everybody else?
Stands out because, like Francis said, we try to make them inclusive. It's not just how much your organization has grown or how much money you've made or something. It is an inclusive thing. How much has the person contributed to the community and the nation as a whole?
Has it been more difficult for CEOs now? We've had guests, award-giving bodies for CFOs, and one thing I raised during interviews is the CFO sometimes acts as a CEO now. His role has evolved. Now, with the role of the CFO evolving, what has changed in the role of the CEO in a company?
Well, to begin with, the CFO's role emerges as important very often in two circumstances. One, when you're fighting for your life, you're restructuring, you're cutting down costs, you're paying off debt, etc., etc. That's one time. The other is when you're growing very fast, and you've got to figure out which growth alternative to follow, how to finance that growth, and so forth. But not to be confused, that's one part of the business, and in a sense, a consequence of the business. The CEO is the head of the leadership team. So translating the vision into concrete, specific initiatives is not the task alone of the CFO. It is mainly the executive, the chief executive. And it is, I guess there is a temptation to say that we are particularly challenged at this time. But I am sure previous generations, Jack Welch, when he was running GE, would have told you those are very difficult times. And everybody else, Walter Wriston, when he was running Citibank into a very important, would tell you the same thing. So it is, I would be a little bit more circumspect in saying that ours is special. I think history is a very long period of time. But I think that the challenges are real and they're very important. It's true.
Okay, Richard, the event is going to be on November 8th. We'll give you a chance to invite everybody.
Sure, please come on out. It's a celebration. It's a fun event. We're showing Philippines to the world, and we want everybody to come out, certainly.
Okay, Richard Mills, the chairman of the Asia CEO Awards, and Mr. Francis Estrada, the vice chair of the Institute of Corporate Directors. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us.
Thank you very much, Ron.
Thank you. The Philippine Ascos seek revenge in their friendly match against Kuwait, and for